Welcome to the Erasmus Foundation podcast. My name is Paul Nugent. Are you looking for answers to life and its meaning? Then this may well be the very podcast you need to listen to. In a series of podcasts, we are going to look at the difficult questions of life and apply spiritual knowledge to find out the answers. Hello. Today, we are going to be talking with Padina once again, and this time her subject, quite interestingly, is the nonsense of this world. And in brackets, she's put God's sanity. So greetings, Padina.
Greetings.
Well, this is a very strange title, so may I ask you, what are the nonsenses of this world?
Well, they are the nonsenses entirely of man's making. Man has created his own world, in a sense, although his world had and continues to be created by the great mind, and with the help of spirit, of course. But man, according to man's law, his reasoning on all things is to change his world according to his rules and his designs, which are not always fitting and right, and often in conflict with the natural law. So that is what I would describe as the nonsenses. And of course, in a sense, the biggest nonsense is what your world is experiencing at this time by the spread of this lethal disease which has been created by man. And we have spoken on this, I know, but it is so relevant and such an important issue in your time of the earth, here and now.
Why does this matter, do you think?
It matters because your world is out of balance. It is unhealthy. It is sick. In a way, it is dying. But that is not to be allowed, that it will die. And all is being done to ensure that your world is not destroyed and comes back into a state of health and sanity. So this is really the point of my message, if you would have it. My talk today is really to emphasize how much damage man is creating within this world. And as a consequence, as a simple consequence, the natural law is responding accordingly. If a person, a race, a population of a planet, no matter how many, if any should be in conflict with the natural law, then the natural law will respond in accordance. Cause and effect, very simple. And this is how it is. This is not being done as a punishment or anything of that kind. No, because the great mind does not punish, and spirit do not punish. It's not acceptable. But what there is man poisoning his planet, creating a chaos, endangering all that is within the natural law. All of nature is being challenged and being damaged by man. And therefore, nature is to respond. It is simply just a natural cause and effect that this should be. And this pandemic is the result of all of this. So that is what I refer to as man's nonsenses, because in his arrogance, he is ignoring the natural law, and in spite of what might happen, he insists on causing all this destruction.
So, Bedino, what do we do about all these nonsenses then?
Well, it is simple that man has to look to himself first and foremost, to come to an appreciation, an understanding of how his actions, how his activities has caused this state of imbalance, which is a state of imbalance within man first and foremost. So it requires that man must look to himself for the blame, for the reasons why the coronavirus disease is spreading so strongly across your earth. It is for man to look to himself, to find the cause, the real cause, the true cause of this pandemic, to then find means and ways to change these activities of his and put the world back into a healthier state, as it should be.
Thank you, Bedino. So these nonsenses, Bedino, are they affecting us in some areas more than others, would you say, or anywhere particular that we need to deal with almost immediately?
Well, there are many things that are not right within your world, many things. But all of these things will take time to repair and to cure the problems within your world. And I do not propose to give you a list of these things at this moment. But ultimately, first and foremost, the pressing issue is this one of disease, because that is going to have so many other repercussions as it progresses through the next few years. You are already seeing the effects of this, not only damaging and destroying people, but also wildlife. Some of the animals, both on the land and in the sea and in the air, your birds, are all suffering as man is. And this is the crucial issue which needs to be resolved at this time. And then further considerations may be applied at a later time. But that is the essential one for now.
And Spirit, how do they view us at this moment in time, would you say, Bettina?
Well, Spirit have an acceptance, and that is very different to your world, but it is important. We accept that what is happening at this time was going to happen because of the way man is developing, how he has evolved, his world, his planet, and that was expected. It was known, tapestried by the great mind, that this would happen. So we are there to support in any way we can, to help mankind get through this time. And also, we are here to help with advice and any information we can give to help promote the repair and the medicine that is needed to help your Earth recover.
We are in the fifth civilization, are we not, Bettina? And therefore, 4 civilizations have occurred prior to this one, obviously. Now, is this a situation that has occurred before?
Not to the degree it is at present, no. One civilization, which was a long, long time ago, which you may know of as Lemuria. There were disease during that time, yes. AIDS was one. AIDS is not new. It has always been on your Earth. It is just simply due to man's behavior, his activities, his treatment of his world has allowed the conditions and the environment for that to grow in strength as it has done and continues to do across your world. It is same with the flu virus and other viruses that have attacked mankind. These, again, have grown and developed in strength, have become very much a part of your world in abundance because the conditions have been favorable for these things to develop, caused by man and his behavior. So it was before on Lemuria. That wasn't the cause entirely of its destruction, but it was there nonetheless. Disease was rampant. So yes, it has happened before, but this time, this period in your civilization, it is to have more effect upon your world, and it is to cause other things to occur as well.
So, Bettina, we're on a knife edge then. Is that how we're viewed from Spirit? That we are at a point where we need to do something pretty rapidly to make a change?
And there are many, many living in your world today who know this, who have a very clear appreciation of the dire situation your world is in. And with the increase in climate temperature. This is going to cause even more problems than man faces today. But that is all related to this disease, and that has not been spoken of or perhaps recognized by people of the earth yet, but will come to the realization of how the climate change is all part of what is creating the perfect environment for these viruses to proliferate.
Many people are thinking, Bedina, that the virus is coming to an end, do they not? Mm-hmm. But there must be many people in control, or should we say, in the know, in the world that must realize that this is not the case.
That is so. They perhaps recognize that there is no reason for it to disappear, because the conditions to promote the growth and development of this disease are themselves developing. And there are some who recognize this, who understand, who have a very clear understanding of how all this has come about. But of course, they are not going to be listened to by the huge strength of industry, by the influence of industry on the politics of your world. That it is money, it is commerce and industry which dictates what happens. And the few voices of reason are not going to be listened to if they challenge the continuation and well-being of these industries. And your governments are going to support the industries. So any voice of reason is not going to be listened to.
So the tipping point then, Bedina, will be, as you've spoken about many times in the past, this forthcoming financial crash.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Because when the motive for these industries and this great mass monster of commercialism no longer has any purpose, if the financial structure is destroyed, then there is no reason for these commerces to continue. Then this will cause other major problems as well, and thereby then when man is on his knees, then perhaps he may be in a position to start listening and learning and thinking about changing what is a drastic, dire situation he has caused.
I mean, I'm getting on in years, Bedina, but I do feel for the young people of the world. And from what you're saying, although we're going to go through a difficult patch, maybe several years, the future is much more rosy for the young people, is it not?
In the long term, the very long term, one could see it in that way, yes. But I feel for the youth of your world, because so many of them recognize all that is wrong, or recognized at least some of it, and would change the world if they could. But of course, they are fully aware that it is the older generations who had their hand controlling the means of commercial industrialization. They are the ones of those older generations who are not listening or wanting to change anything. And it is the youth who perhaps have very little in terms of material gain. They see simply just the reason, the logic for what is necessary to be done. So they have only one motive, and that is a sense of reason. And that is good. That is very good. But they are not in control, sadly.
Thank you, Bedina. So would you like to round this subject off for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Although the next few years is a difficult time for mankind on the earth, the result of all this and more will ensure a good, healthy future for your world. It is just that man must go through a time of pain and difficulty. But then pain is refining, and he will become more refined, more spiritually aware, more aware of the science of spirit, and his technology will advance greatly. His understanding of ways of medicine will advance greatly. There will be many, many, many developments, all better for your world. So the future is bright, colorful, very beautiful, very beautiful. But to get there requires man to jump through some hoops, the expression of your earth. But more seriously than that, there are to be times of some challenge and difficulties.
The Erasmus Foundation is a spiritual teaching and healing foundation based in Laxfield, Suffolk, in the United Kingdom. We have a webpage, www.erasmus-foundation.org. If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, or indeed have further questions for us, then please contact me on paul@erasmus-foundation.org, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. Thank you very much for listening.